Welcome to the MLMsuccess.com podcast, the show designed to return the network marketing industry to its roots of personal growth, leadership development, and wisdom of the ages success principles. We share with you real success stories from real people that we hope will inspire and encourage you personally and help you progress forward in your business and your life. We believe if you build people, people will build the business. Now here is your host, who has been called the number one mind in network marketing, the MLM Prophet, network marketing virtual mentor, and a host of other names that we will not mention because this is a family show. Frankly, he's just a small town guy that figured out that the real product in network marketing is people. Dale Calvert.
Hey guys, this is Dale Calvert. I'd like to welcome you to session 229 of the MLM Success Podcast. We've got a special session for you this week. We've got a special guest who just released a new book called Simplified Success, 5 Keys to an Amazing Life. I was honored to be asked to read the foreword to this, or to write the foreword to this book, so I'm just going to share that with you before we introduce the guest. Here's the foreword. I have a little sister, one sister for that matter. She is incredible, special, and if I could search the world and find a perfect husband for her, he would be someone that would love her, cherish her, respect her, someone who would treat all members of our family like his own. Looking back over the last 30 plus years since Mark Ledford married my sister, Christy, he would not only become the perfect mate for her, but someone who I would grow to love like a brother. He would become someone who I could laugh and cry with and have countless stimulating, thought-provoking conversations. He is someone who has prayed with me and for me many times, more than I can count. Frankly, it's hard for me to even imagine our family without Mark. If you know Mark Ledford, you like him. It seems wherever we go, Mark is continually running into and talking to people he knows. He's the kind of guy who never meets a stranger. He shows no favoritism and treats everyone with the same respect, kindness, and openness. Those who know Mark on a deeper level know what a man of impeccable character he is, that he is the greatest friend you could ever have, and you all have incredible respect for his business acronym. You love him for who he is as a Christian husband, dad, father, and human being. I operate a personal development seminar company. I give a speech called Balanced Living, and every time I have the opportunity to provide this presentation to an organization, the person I think about who exemplifies this concept of balanced living is Mark. Simplified Success is a masterful work that could have only been written by Mark Ledford. Mark doesn't just talk the talk. For over 30 years, I've witnessed him live and breathe the concepts he writes about in this book. Simplified Success is the perfect gift for the graduating senior in your life. For that matter, it should be part of the curriculum and required learning before a student is eligible to graduate. The sound advice Mark offers in this book is something from which every young person can benefit. If you read the book and give a copy to someone else, you would do your part in making the world a better place. If you are in the midlife or an honored senior citizen, Simplified Success will speak to you as well. Sometimes the path to success is so straight and so clear, we see right through them. Mark gives you the roadmap in this book. My hope is that you will internalize the concepts and implement them in your life. Knowing without action leads to self-delusion. Enjoy Simplified Success. Apply the principles in your life and share them with others. And with that, it's a pleasure to introduce you guys this week to my brother-in-law and a wonderful, wonderful human being and a fantastic author. Let's listen to the conversation that Mark and I recently had. Guys, I'd like to welcome you to session 229 of the MLM Success Podcast. Our very special guest today is Mark Ledford, and we're going to talk about his new book that's called Simplified Success, 5 Keys to an Amazing Life. If you're a regular listener to this podcast, you know that there are a lot of people that talk the talk, but unfortunately very few that really walk the walk. And I've known Mark for over 30 years, and I can tell you that Mark walks the walk, and that are outlined, the 5 important concepts that he talks about in this book. Before we even get into this series, this podcast, this interview, I want you guys to understand that I personally think this is a perfect gift for someone that's graduating high school or college, or for a young married couple. These principles in this book, if they are implemented, really will lead to an amazing life. And I'm very glad to have him. The book is available at markledfordbooks.com. That's the only place you can get it right now, markledfordbooks.com. But with that, Mark, I'd just like to welcome you to the session.
Yeah, thank you, Dale. Appreciate it, and thanks for asking me on.
Okay, I want to go back because I think it's important for people to understand who is this person, why should I be listening to them?
Sure.
And so we'll start. I know you were a star high school athlete and went to Moorhead in Kentucky on a football scholarship and probably set every receiving record that was ever at Moorhead. I mean, I saw a video which was just like amazing, that one game that you had where it's like your hands were a magnet or something.
Well, that was probably my best game too. So.
It was unbelievable. But so you went to Moorhead, you graduated. You're originally from Mount Sterling, Kentucky. Then where did you end up after graduation?
Well, Dale graduated from Moorhead State in '84, as you mentioned there, and had no idea what I wanted to do. I really had a choice to go into either coaching and teaching, since I did love the game of football, or I had the choice to go into business. My dad was a businessman and is retired now, living the life of leisure down in Florida in the wintertime. So one of these days I'd like to do that, but he was in business. So he and I had a conversation after I was getting ready to graduate, after I had already decided to go into business. And he said, "Son, what are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, Dad, I guess I'm going to go help you in the typewriter business." He said, "Son, typewriter business is going downhill. It's going out because they're bringing in something called the word processor." And he dealt with IBM. And of course, your dad being IBMer there. But anyway, that was kind of the decision I needed to start looking for something else. And that was about the extent of our conversation. But it was enough to get me on the track of pursuing something that I really enjoyed, and that was finance. And just happened to be talking to somebody in that spring. She said her mother worked at the bank. I just kind of kept it in the back of my mind. I was getting frustrated. I couldn't find a job, but came in as a teller with the bank, little community bank, in 1984. Started out kind of as a management trainee, but teller line is where everybody starts. And thought I was going to, I told myself, as you come out of college, you think you're big stuff, you come out. I was thinking, I'm not going to work for anybody less than $18,000. And he offered me $12,000, and I about jerked his arm off. So I took it. That's right. Yeah. So that's where it started. And Dale, really, as you know, I'm with the same bank 37 years later. So it's been a good place for me to be.
Yeah, and I've watched you, work up to, loan officer and eventually president of the bank, and, the career path has been unbelievable, and it's been, very successful for you. So why write a book I mean, how did all that start?
Yeah, I've always had a heart for young people. It probably started, I got the idea. Well, I've always had a heart for young people. I've been a coach, football coach. I did coach for 8 years while I was working at the bank. So they gave me a chance to work with young folks. Christy and I taught Sunday school. That gave us another chance to work with young people. In the banking business, I would see young people when I became a loan officer. I would see young people kind of biting off more than they could chew, or on the loan side, maybe taking on too much debt, even though they cash flowed, probably pushing it just a little too far. I was seeing people create just huge amounts of fees on overdraft fees and not balancing their checkbooks and that type of thing. And I thought, gosh, this is simple stuff. But people just aren't taught this stuff in school. They're not taught this stuff at home, and they're having to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
And the hard way means costing them a lot of money. So that's kind of where it began, Dale. And so throughout my career, I would always volunteer to go up to the high school and speak to classes generally about financial type things, junior achievement type stuff. But then sometimes, many times it would morph into how to present yourself and things that a person needed to do in order to become successful. You gotta be a well-rounded individual. You can't just be perfect in one area and then let the other four go. So, but I think that's where it all started. Just the love of people that I have, for people that I have, and just kind of the background, and it just all kind of culminated into information that helped me write this book.
Yeah, I can imagine if this was a course that was mandatory in every high school, it changed the world. Wow,
I appreciate that. That's about the way I felt when I was writing this book, Dale. This information was, and I can't take credit for the information. I've lived a life, and this information, actually, I was on vacation just by myself, and I was reading another book. Believe it or not, the book was called You Were Born for This by Bruce Wilkinson. Wonderful book. And as I was reading that book, all of a sudden, all this information started just flooding my mind. And for 10 minutes, thankfully, I had a piece of paper and a pen. And for 10 minutes, I wrote down all the information that was coming to me. And I really believe that the Lord gave me that information. And so as I got finished looking at that, I had 5 points with 5 different topics under each subject. And I thought, gosh, this kind of looks like a table of contents of a book. So got home, didn't do anything with it, and actually pitched it in a drawer. I finished reading the book, You Were Born for This. And but I had a conversation with a lady at the bank who works with me. She said, Mark, have you read any good books lately? And I said, well, the last one I'd read was 3 years ago. It was called You Were Born for This, but I loved it. And she said, well, I'm going to get it. She was so excited that from what I had said about it. So it made me go back home and pull the book out of the drawer 3 years after I had read it.
Wow.
To look at it one more time. Well, I pulled the book out and I opened it up and I looked down and these notes that I had taken 3 years prior to, the one that I thought looked like a book, table of contents. So I said, oh my goodness. I said, I better get these on word processor or on my computer, save them into Word before I lose them. And all of a sudden, it just was like a lightning bolt that hit me, the strongest nudge that I have ever had in my life. And I felt like the Lord said, sit down and start writing a book. So at that minute, I sat down January 2nd, 2017, started writing the book. And and he just kind of guided me all the way through it. This is my first book, and So great. I mean, it was an attempt. I didn't know what I was doing, but he got me there. And 3.5 years later, we finally got it in print. And so I just feel like it's something that the Lord wants out there. And I'm excited to I feel like this is my calling now, my ministry. And I just want it in as many hands as possible, just to give them information.
Yeah. That's kind of the mission of this book, is just to make an impact for, we say young people, but really anybody. You're
right. Yeah, you're right. And I'm picking up things as I go through it. My name is on the front cover of the book. I wrote the book, but it is information that it is very simple, fundamental information that anybody can pick up and use. Now, yes, it is for young adults, but it's really to provide, the quickest way from point A to point B is in a straight line. We all know that in finance, in your social life, in preparing for a job, in your physical health, spiritual health, which are that embodies the book. But the quickest way to success in any of those chapters or topics is in a straight line. Now, life, we know, is not a straight line. I mean, but we don't have to go over here a half a mile and over here a half a mile. If we can stay close to that path, and yeah, sure, we're going to get off of it a little bit, but if we're not too far off, then you can bounce back on. If you got some good guidelines or good boundaries with these principles, and that's what these principles are, just very basic, simple guidelines to help you get from point A to point B and save hundreds of thousands of dollars on the borrowing side, just talking about finance. But, from everything, Dale, presentation is everything, So there's so many things that we're just trying to help young people and anybody who reads this book avoid the pitfalls, get off to a good start, and then just follow that correct path that will get them to where they want to go quicker.
Yeah. We've talked about, obviously, this book since you started it. And I'm going to go off track for a minute, because I think the people listening to this will remember this story from me, because I've never heard you say what you just said about, and I'm going to go back, because it's kind of give me chills.
Yeah.
I was listening to audio cassettes 8 hours a day on the assembly line at IBM for 3 years, and trying to figure out how to build a team, which the majority of our audience is, team builders, network marketers, and listening over and over. And I remember I had to be there at 6:00 one morning, and I got there early. I was working from 6 to 12 on a Saturday, and I hadn't thought about any of this, but I got there early. And I'm thinking, how do we systemize this step by step? How do we put it in a system that it can be taught? And I'm sitting there, and it was like my mind opened up, and it just started coming. And I'm grabbing these repair cards, and I'm writing as fast as I can. I'm writing it like it's coming to me.
Yeah.
It was like, launch your business, retail to recruit, 2-step recruiting process, distributor retention program, creating leads. It was those 5 topics.
Oh, my goodness.
Happened. So I've never known anybody that has experienced something like that. And I've shared that over the years. Wow. And people think but that's exactly what happened to me. That day was the most defining day for me in the history from that point forward.
Right.
So it's kind of cool that you had that similar experience, because I had no idea that had happened.
Oh, wow. And same here. I didn't know that it happened to you, but
I got my 5, and it's the same 5 things I teach today.
Technology's changed a little bit, but the same 5 principles are the same 5 principles. The 5 principles in this book really are the key. I mean, there's nothing else.
It's the 5 principles of life. You're right.
That's right. It'll put you on the right financial path. There's no question. So it's kind of cool that we discovered this. To me, this made this worth it,
Oh yeah, that's great. I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah. So we'll cover the five principles, but people have got to read the book to really get the true depth of everything,
right? And
the simplicity.
And that's the beauty of the book, I believe. It's the simplicity in it. Life is hard. I mean, life is tough because there's curveballs that come, but we don't want to make it any harder than we have to. So if we can just implement some basic, sound, fundamental principles and build our life around these 5 principles that I talk about in the book, and it's nothing new. Dale, as you know, it's nothing new, but it takes everything. It takes that journey. It takes that, and it provides it in a very simple map for people to take one step at a time. Baby steps, depending on where you are in your life and your marriage, your career, whatever. You can take baby steps and just follow these simple principles, and you will get there, and you will get there quicker. You may even have a better job. You may be able to get a job quicker because of some of these principles. You will save on the borrowing side. You will save hundreds of thousands of dollars if you just if you make 2 good choices in buying a home. I can show you how to save $50,000 on buying a vehicle. So there's so many, but it all starts with making the right choice up front. So that's the key.
It's deciding you're going to live within this philosophy, this framework. This is the path that I'm going to go down. And I'm going to, like you say, you're going to get off here and there, but this is the fundamentals. This is the path. Because what happens, people try to take shortcuts and they get 20 miles down the road and the bridge is out. There's a dead end down here because they tried to take a shortcut.
Yeah.
I do a podcast like from Atlanta to Kentucky because I know that road. I know every exit. We travel it all the time, as you know. And it's like you stay on 75. There is no shortcut, and it's the same concept here. All right. The first thing you talk about is social skills. And you have several different topics here, but the one I would like you to expand on just a little bit, because I think you're a master at it. Like, I can't go anywhere in Kentucky with you ever since I've known you where you're not shaking somebody's hand. How you doing? Everywhere we go. So one of the topics is develop a network, and you've obviously done that. And in our business and in our audience, I think anything that you can share would probably be very helpful if you want to expand on that.
Yeah, well, sure. I guess, it is part of my personality. I'm an extrovert. So my wife is an introvert. So we get along very well. But I think that's, number one, that's a part of it. The extrovert side of me. I like going out. I like talking to people. I like meeting new people. I'll go back to 7th grade here real quick and kind of tell you where, so I grew up in Kentucky, went to school at Morehead State. So in Kentucky, I work in Kentucky. So that's a big benefit for me over, my lifetime, meeting a lot of people from Kentucky. But one of my social studies teacher back in 7th grade had us learn every county and county seat that was in the state of Kentucky. And we got the most counties of anybody, and we're one of the smaller states. But we had to learn them. Well, for some reason, I just fell in love with that. and studied them and really just kind of retrained myself and kept memorizing these things up through college. And so it became something that I really knew. And I can't quote y'all 120 of them now, but that one thing, my point is that one thing has started more conversations for me. Just the other day, I was talking to a lady who we needed some employees through Morehead State job fair up there. And I asked her, one of my first questions to anyone is, where are you from? And she said, well, I'm from a little town down in a little county or town down in southeastern Kentucky. I'm from Boone County. Owsley County. I said, oh, you live down in Booneville. She said, my gosh, how do you know that? So anyway, it was just one of those things. I took an interest in where she lived. And so, yeah, I may have known somebody from there, but I may not have. But just the fact that I knew kind of where she grew up and where it was located was kind of amazing to her. And to me, it was just, something that I've always done. But that's just one conversation. That's just one little thing that can kind of get a conversation going. And then, again, living here in Kentucky, a lot of times I will be able to follow that up with somebody that I know in that county or whatever. And, oh, yeah, I'm kin to them. And next thing you know, you got a conversation rolling. Everybody's comfortable. But that's probably been the one neat thing that I've been able to use, to my advantage over time. So
that you learned in the 7th grade.
It's 7th grade, yeah.
But everybody that's listening, that is a phenomenal tip. If you want to really expand your network, especially in your community, your state, learn that. We can all do that.
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't. Yeah, everybody could do it. You start right now. By next Saturday, every one of them, and where they're located, and that could get you a good start to open up the door on a conversation. So
that makes sense. In chapter 2, you get into all the financial and maybe if you give people a tip or two just on borrowing smart. I love that topic. I mean, you get into several topics, but one is borrowing smart. You talk about credit cards, financing a car, financing a home. Anything you'd like to share there?
Well, it's just the whole idea with money is on the borrowing side, you want to borrow less, pay it back quicker. So you're winning two ways there. You're borrowing less money, so you're spending less money. Whatever you borrow, you have to pay back. And then if you can pay it off quicker, you're saving all kinds of interest. Right. So you're winning two ways when you borrow less money. Same thing with a vehicle. Why buy a $50,000 vehicle when you can buy a $10,000 vehicle, pay it off in 3 years versus 7 years, save over $50,000 in that process. So that's the compounding interest on the borrowing side. The longer you've got money borrowed or the longer that money is on the books, whether you owe it, you're paying more. If you got that money on the books in your pocket, in your account, in your 401k, then it's making you money. So we want to get off the borrowing side of the ledger as quick as possible and put that money to work for you over on the savings side of the ledger. And it's just as simple as that. Dale, I'll just tell you real quick, I'm a banker, so I'm trying to make money for my bank. And I got my boss's stamp of approval, and he gave me a recommendation on the back of the book, but I had to have his approval because the financial chapter is considered a consumer advocate chapter. It shows you how to save money. It shows you how to save, cut your insufficient funds fees. One overdraft, $34. I've seen people pay me thousands and thousands of dollars a year on overdraft fees, $34 at a time. And it's just, we want to make money, but we don't want to make money that way. But it happens. So that's the key. Borrow less, be smart with your money, live within your means. I love using the examples, couple 1, couple 2, and couple 3, Dale. We talk about couple 1 doing a certain thing, borrowing less money, paying it back quicker. Couple two, borrowing it to the max that the loan officer said, hey, you can afford up to whatever. And, the couple runs out and grabs the most expensive house they can find that they can afford based on two incomes. And it's just literally hundreds of thousands of dollars it's going to take for them to pay it back. So anyway, just throw that little teaser out there and, but I think people would be amazed at some of these examples.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Then you get into job preparation, and if somebody has just come out of college looking for a job, I mean, everything when you get into humility and manners and your cover letter of your resume, I mean, it's just the interview. It's phenomenal. My audience is anti-job, which I'm anti-job, as you know.
I've heard that from you a few times.
Yeah, but from an entrepreneurial standpoint, and I'd like you to just talk on this for a minute, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. I know that you have invested in real estate for years, and just anything you want to share that you think this audience might find valuable there.
Yeah, I saw my dad and my mother both work in a career, at a career. Mom was a teacher. Dad was in business for 42 years. And I saw him go to a job 9 to 5, travel a lot. I knew I didn't want to do the traveling side of it, but I saw that. So I learned that. And I learned that you got up every day and you put on a tie and you went to work. And, that was just part of my family. And, but I also had relatives, my grandfather being one, that were entrepreneurs. And even though they did the 9 to 5, maybe in their own grocery store or their own bank or whatever, they also had side hustles, they call it now. My grandfather was also in real estate. Now, my father didn't do anything on the side until the typewriter actually went out, and he invested into a dynamite company at the urging of a friend, and then ended up selling it just last year and did very well. So I've always enjoyed. Number one, I enjoy getting up out of bed and I enjoy going to work. But I knew that the 9 to 5 was not all that I wanted. And I knew the 9 to 5 wasn't going to get me to where I wanted to go as quickly as I wanted to get there. So I knew as I was loaning money to people who were buying duplexes and fourplexes, I saw that they were making some pretty good money. And not only they were paying their debt down, their appreciation on the property was going up. So they were winning two ways. So I saw that and I thought, man. So I had one of my customers and I said, hey, you mind teaching me the real estate business? He said, sure, I'll sell you a house. So he sold me my first house, $11,000. And so he said, so after 2 years, he said, how you like it? I said, I love it. He said, if you can collect rent in this area, he said, you're going to be in it for life. And I said, well, all right, so I'm going to buy me another one. So that's how we got started. Very small. And Dale, I've taken it slow. I haven't gone out there and borrowed a bunch of money to do things. But I have absolutely loved the relationships that I have built with people in the rental business. And I've loved what it has been able to do for me and my family as far as provide for me in my retirement whenever that comes up. So, but absolutely love real estate, and it dovetailed perfectly with the bank because when you're taking rental applications, it's just like taking a loan application, and had not only the background of the finance, but also knowing I guess the beauty of living in a community and knowing the people and knowing who you could trust and who you couldn't, that kind of thing. So but I have always loved I've looked at you over my years and thinking, man, what freedom, there's freedom in this. But I know there's also 20-hour days too.
Yeah.
But when it's yours, it's 20 hours. Hey, I can do it, because I'm working for me and I love it. So that's the way I feel about real estate. And, and even writing this book, Dale, it's, to me, it's the Lord's work, but there's a business sense to it, so that is another entrepreneurial type thing that I've really enjoyed, and Christy's helped me with it. And, I've got my strengths in this, and she's got her organizational strengths, and, we work together well in that. So, it's been, I just couldn't do the 9 to 5. I do have an entrepreneurial spirit in me, and I've really enjoyed that part of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell people, the ultimate goal, and I don't care what business model you're using, but ultimately you want to get to a point where you can live a very comfortable lifestyle without receiving a check from another company.
Exactly.
Through your investments, you can live a comfortable lifestyle. That's when you've made it.
That's it. You get off the rat, get out of the rat race.
That's right. I mean, until you're there, I don't care how much you're making a month. From like in network marketing, there's some huge incomes that can be created, but it doesn't matter, because until you're in a situation where you don't need that check from your company to live a comfortable life, you have not made it. And so, I've talked about the 5 steps, and then the 6th one down here is that's ultimately where you're trying to get to, where you got rental property, maybe you've got, a cabin in Gatlinburg that's somebody else is taking care of every month, and they're collecting it and they're renting it, and they just send you a check every single month. Right. And when you get in that situation, no matter what kind of business you're in, then you've made it. Mm-hmm. And you're not there until that happens.
That's right.
You're right on with that. I'm
trying to get there.
Yeah. The chapter 5 is probably the most important, and that's spiritual health. And I've said, and people on this podcast have heard me say that, that there's some people are so heavenly minded that they're no earthly good. And if you're going to be out of balance, that's probably the place to be out of balance in your life, is taking care of that.
Yeah.
Your spiritual life, and it's more important. But so I mean, see, you've been part of my support structure for years, and hopefully I have yours.
Oh yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, Mark's my brother-in-law. He married my sister, which I actually wrote the foreword in the book, which you will read. But I mean, the family that we have, my parents, it's we're so blessed,
Oh, amen. Yeah, I got the best in-laws in the world. I've always said that.
Yeah.
But in Dale, it's, like you said, it is the most important part, because, like my dad always said, short time here, long time gone. And, but what I've tried to do is give a couple of easy, basic principles to follow. And, people pray and they think, well, did God hear me or did he not hear me? Well, there's got to be a place in the Bible that tells us how to pray. And there's a scripture that's in there, and I talk about that, and it takes you right through it. And then, so what I've done is tried to take those 6 parts, basically, of the Lord's Prayer, and go down through each one of those and explain in very simple, easy to understand terms of my belief of the scriptures and what I've been taught over my lifetime. And there's certain key principles that the Lord wants us to do in order to be heard. in order for him to hear us. So we've got to unlock the keys. And I talk about the two that actually get that phone line going to the Lord. So, and again, there's some scripture in there, obviously. One other thing, Dale, that what I really like about the book is that the salvation prayer is in the book. And so a lot of us sometimes have a hard time. It's, like bringing up, how are you doing spiritually, or, that kind of thing. Sometimes that's a sensitive subject because, everybody's got the choice to worship how they want to. But this is a good ministry tool. And that's kind of what I feel like it is for me and Christy and our family. And, Barbara has bought so many copies and been handing them out right and left to people. And they can go through this book. They can get on their knees. They can ask for forgiveness and they're saved right there. So it's a ministry tool. It's almost like a track, but it's a book. But anyway, that's another way people can use that.
Absolutely. But Mark, we've been talking a lot about financial success and simplified success. Isn't money the root of all evil?
Well, you know what? The Lord talks about money literally more than any other subject in the Bible. And the love of money
there you
is the
go.
root of all evil.
That's
greed,
right.
That's where you get into the greed side of it and doing
that's
people
right.
wrong and, that sort of thing. So, I just feel like if you treat people right and you do what you're supposed to, you make an honest living and, you sow into the kingdom, you will reap. I am a firm believer in the principle of sowing and reaping. And
yes.
My wife is too. And we try to teach our kids that. And anytime I can interject that into a conversation, when we're kind of heading that way, to me, it's just an amazing principle that never fails.
That's right. I worked with so many people over the years that have a real, sincere, false perception about that scripture, because it's not money's the root of all evil. It's the love of money.
It is.
Money makes you more of what you already are. If you have a heart to give, you'll give more. Right. If you want to support big brothers and big sisters, you'll be able to support them even better. Money is not the root of all evil. It's the love of money. And there are, and if you have love of money and you're in business, then you end up on a American greed or something, at some point. You're headed for disaster for sure.
Yeah. No,
we could go on and we could talk about a lot of stuff, but we'll just wrap this up. But is there anything that we have not covered that you would want to like I'm telling you guys, if you follow me, please buy this book. You get one copy. You'll wish you had 5, because you want to give it to everybody that that you really care about. The perfect graduation present. And again, I'm not saying this because he's my brother-in-law. Those of you that know me know that. And I wanted to make sure that I told everybody he's my, because you're going to get this. Well, Dale wrote the foreword. So I just wanted to be as up front with you as I possibly can be. But Mark, what have we not covered in this book or not talked about that we should have talked about?
I think we've pretty much covered it. I mean, it's the going back. It's values that our grandfathers carried. It's values that mine and your parents carried. But if you go back to our grandparents, those are the ones that really, and the ones before, but in our recent memory, those are the ones that set the values that the people that we knew. And they, and these 5 principles, and the 5, probably 5 to 7, 8 topics under each one are really just steadfast, biblical, moral value principles that our grandparents would love to see back in society right now. Live within your means. And that's probably the number one as far as the financial side of things. That's the golden rule when you start with finance, and your money management, and everything else stems from there. But the values, I think it's just a reminder of our values and we need to get back more so to our values than we are as a nation right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate you being with me. I've enjoyed this. I'm so glad that we did this because I cannot believe that your subconscious mind opened up and you're writing this stuff, but it just blows my mind because I know exactly what you experienced. And that was so cool that we unpacked that and covered that. We'll be heading to Kentucky here in 3 or 4 weeks, so we'll talk to you then. And thank you so much for being with us. And again, the website is Mark Ledford Books, Books. Is that right?
Yes,
MarkLedfordBooks.com.
And my email address, Dale, let me give my email address too. Okay. It's markledfordbooks@gmail.com.
MarkLedfordBooks@gmail.com. If you have anything, they can contact you if they'd like to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. We'll talk soon.
All righty. Thank you, Dale.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Hey guys, this is Dale. I hope you enjoyed that. Mark has been a dear friend and awesome brother-in-law, and it was just a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to him in this type of environment. I really hope you'll go check out his book. Go over to markledfordbooks.com and order a couple of these books. They'll be phenomenal presents for anyone that you know, especially in the early stages of life, high school graduation, college graduation, new couples starting out. I can't recommend the book highly enough. Again, thanks for being with us. I'll be back with you next week on another session of the MLM Success Podcast. You guys have an awesome week. Talk to you then.
If you haven't gone over to iTunes yet and rated and left this podcast a review, what are you waiting for? At Calvert Marketing Group, we want to spend our time on the projects that we know are providing the most value for our clients and customers. You leaving us a review and feedback on iTunes is something that helps us more than you realize. And more importantly, it helps others like you find us. So if you've not taken the time to rate this podcast, please go over to iTunes and do that for us now. It will only take a couple of minutes out of your busy schedule. Work harder on yourself than you do on your business, and we will be back next week with another inspiring success story, wisdom of the ages training, or answers to your questions.